Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna match your energy. So we do one of these classes tonight. Because the title of the section is, that I'm covering is, Allow All Things. So we will allow all things, including the way you feel right now, and the way we're expressing ourselves right now. So let's close our eyes for a minute and allow ourselves to focus in. You are free. 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 In this moment, you are free to choose to see things differently. You are free in this moment to see things differently. Solemnly, I would invite you to say to yourself, I am free. In this moment, to see things differently. You are free in this moment to choose to see things differently. Do you know the situation that I'm talking about? Do you know the situation that I'm talking about is the thing that you were telling yourself before you arrived that you wish were different? Do you know that I'm talking about the person you were thinking about that you wish were different? Do you know that I'm talking about the relationship, the circumstance that you wish were different? Tell yourself, tell yourself, tell yourself, I am free in this moment to choose to see things differently. I am free. In this moment, to choose to see things differently. I am free. In this moment, to choose to see things differently. I want only the truth. Tell yourself you want the truth about that situation, that you want the truth about that person, you want the truth about that circumstance. Do you know you just need to ask to see the truth about this person. I ask to see the truth about this person. Ask to see the truth about this relationship. I ask to see the truth about this relationship. I ask to see the truth about this circumstance. I ask to see the truth about this circumstance. I ask to see the truth. I want only the truth. We want only the truth. We want only the truth. You are free in this moment to choose to see things differently. You are free in this moment to choose to see them differently. 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 You are free in this moment to choose to see yourself differently. Choose to see yourself differently. You are free. You need not believe it. You need not accept these ideas. You need not believe these ideas. Some of these ideas you may actively resist. Some of these ideas you're going to find hard to believe from the way of mastery. Some of it's going to be startling. Do you know that you're not being asked to judge and analyze the ideas? If you use the ideas, you will see that the ideas work and the ideas are true. And I'm going to be doing Allow All Things in part 2, The Way of Transformation, page 253. Allow All Things in part 2, The Way of Transformation, lesson 21. It's in lesson 21 on page 253. Allow all things. This was a great way of mastery class. I remember the joy that we experienced on Tuesday nights before they all died.
That's obviously how excited we are about allowing.
Do you know you need to become willing? You need to become willing to be somebody who cultivates the ability to allow all things. Become willing to be a person who cultivates the ability to allow all things. The reason why you want to cultivate the ability to allow all things is that the mind that's free can do this. The mind that's free can cultivate the ability to allow all things if you have a free mind. Do you know that that means someone without a free mind would be what? A person who does not presently have the ability to allow all things, but they're experts at complaining about all things. You pretty much know which one of those you fall into about some things. It says, the mind that is imprisoned cannot allow all things because the mind that is imprisoned because it insists that what it perceives should become different. An imprisoned mind is a mind that insists that everything it sees be different. So an imprisoned mind is insisting that everybody around them be different. An imprisoned mind is insisting everything be different. And an imprisoned mind is always saying, if this were different, I'd have peace. So based on that, ask yourself where your mind is. Also, it wants everything to change but the perceiver. So an imprisoned mind is a mind that wants everything to change but the mind that wants everything to change and everybody to change. So according to this, that's the very essence of imprisonment. I want everything to be different, but I remain the same. I want everything to be different, but I want my perception to remain the same. Where do you stand in that? Are you a person who wants everything to be different, but you know you haven't changed your way of seeing things? If your mind is imprisoned, you also have not got the ability to allow things. You're always trying to get things to be different, but you. Does anybody not understand what I've shared from the way of mastery? Now, it doesn't mean you have to agree with it, But do you understand what it said? Okay. Also, one who cultivates that ability to allow is actually a person that's in truth cultivating the very ability to forgive. To forgive means, one definition of forgiveness is remember only the loving thoughts that were given to you and the loving thoughts you gave. When you're trying to forgive a person, try to remember only the loving thoughts they've ever given you and the loving thoughts that you gave, and then you forget about the rest of it. That's one definition of forgiveness. So it is releasing the world from your insistence that your perceptions be held as right. So forgiveness is releasing everyone from your insistence that you be right. Forgiving is releasing everyone from your insistence that you be right. Forgiveness is releasing from your mind the need to hold on to your perceptions that are keeping you from forgiving. And forgiveness is insisting that you let go of the need to hold on to the perceptions that you are right. So how can a person tell when they're ready to release and forgive and be happy? Well, the first thing they do is let go of the insistence that they have to be right no matter what. And then that person also releases from themselves the need to hold on to their perception, whatever that perception is, that's keeping them from forgiving. So a person that comes to this class that wants to hold a grievance would feel immediate, total resistance to what this book is saying. And someone who's ready to let something go because they're tired of their mind being imprisoned will be glad to hear what they need to work on in order to be free. So it depends on whether you want to keep a grievance or let it go, how much you like what you just heard. And you know where you stand. And you know where you stand about what. And you know where you stand about who. And I do too. Any thoughts, any questions, let me get one more sentence. Therefore, allow everything, I'm going to say everything instead of all things. Allow everything, trust everything. Wow. So in order to allow everything and to trust everything, I need to release from my mind the need to hold on to my old ways of looking at things. And so I need to embrace something. And when I embrace it, I transcend it. When I no longer resist, it's almost like if you will accept what is, you transcend it. And as long as you resist what is, then you are blocked by it and you're imprisoned. Okay, now, any thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, sharing about what I've covered in the first two paragraphs? Yes.
So as long as I hold on to any kind of agreements, whether it be, as long as I hold on to any kind of, I studied voice acting too. As long as I hold on to any kind of
I'm not allowing your soft voice. Okay, go ahead.
As long as I allow any kind of a grievance in, then I'm still in that prison.
That's right.
And all I'm really doing is then redecorating the cell.
Yeah, it's like what he was saying earlier about, if you remember the very beginning, it says a mind that's imprisoned is always a mind that's insisting everything be different from what it is, without changing your mind. So a grievance is wanting everything and everybody around you to be other than what they are in order for you to be happy. We think that's normal. The truth teaches that's a friggin' grievance. Because what you're saying to me is there's something wrong with me as I am.
Right.
And so I need to be somehow different for you to be happy. Where if I was okay, if there was allowing, if there was accepting, then you wouldn't be trying to change me. If anything, you'd just be changing the way you see. You wouldn't be spending 5 minutes trying to change me. You change the way you see things, and if you change the way you see things, then your mind is no longer imprisoned if you change the way you see things. And forgiveness is letting go of your insistence that you be right, even though you're not experiencing any peace.
Right.
Right. So embracing it simply means I'm not going to be angry at a fact. I'm not going to beat myself up about a fact. This is a fact. This is what's happened. And I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm not going to crucify myself about it. I'm going to embrace it. It happened, so I can transcend it. Notice how they say you necessarily felt good, or you necessarily liked it. It's a fact. You got a flat tire.
Yep.
Then if you would go ahead and allow that you have a flat tire because the tire is flat, for example, then you're actually embracing the flat tire. And therefore you will transcend it because it won't be able to upset you. Follow me? So you are upset about what you're not embracing, and what you're not transcending is anything that you're getting upset about that's a fact. It's happened. It's what's going on. Anybody else? Any thoughts, any questions about those first two paragraphs? About, which was basically about what? Not insisting that things be different, stop imprisoning your mind about wanting to be right, be willing to forgive, which is simply your letting go of that need to be right, and your willingness to allow what's happened and what's already happening. That's not saying you can't change your mind about the way you want to look at it and approach it in a different way, but we have to learn how to embrace and transcend all things. I think this is such a great section, allowing, you know.
Yeah.
So you want to go further?
Yes.
All right. Allowance follows on the heels of desire. What does that mean? When you desire the kingdom, which is love, when you desire the kingdom, which is truth, above everything, I want it more than I want a relationship. I want love and truth. More than I want a body, I want love and truth. More than I want money, I want love and truth. More than I want fame, fortune, physical pleasure, material things, I want love, I want the truth. Wow. You have no choice but to discover that you must allow the world to be as the world is. You don't change the world, which is going to upset some folks for me to say.
Right.
Okay, that's all right. That's a fact. People don't always like what you say. So I'm going to embrace that people might not like what I say. Then I can transcend it.
Sure.
Okay, but if I sit up here and go, people must like everything I say, then I'm not going to transcend, because that ain't going to be the way it is necessarily. So you have to learn how to allow the world to be the world.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? That means you must allow the fact that everything changes and everything in the world begins and ends. One of the most fruitless things that people attempt to do is to make the temporary permanent, and to try to make things that always change not change. So then you get in a relationship and you expect your partner to never change. And the one thing you can count on is your partner or friend is going to change. So if nothing but just, my body doesn't look the way it looked when I was 14 years old. It looks better. Now, I was ugly 14 years old.
No, I don't believe it.
I was.
No, I don't.
Had a big head, big eyes. My friends called me Walleye. That was my nickname. They'd be outside down, remember like it was yesterday, they'd be trying to call me and come outside and hang out with them. They go, Walleye! And so I come out and go hang with them and do unspeakable things that I need forgiveness for today. Even though my mother thought I was being a good little boy. I could do a lot of damage before curfew. Okay. Then I got more freedom because I came in when I was told to, which allowed me to do more. I used to wonder why my friends didn't obey their parents. I had the freedom, they didn't. They were constantly being restricted because they were constantly disobeying. I would obey and I would get more freedom. I didn't understand why they couldn't figure that out. Because they didn't really want to be free. That's why they didn't figure it out. You do the opposite of what it takes for you to be happy,
don't you think that would have to mean some part of you doesn't want to be happy?
Yeah.
If you always keep doing the thing that never works, do you think sooner or later it's like dawn on you, you don't want it to? Wow. Truth is simple. Truth is simple. So it says, you have not known how the world is. You've only known, and you only know, let's put it this way, you don't know how the world is. You don't know how the world is. You don't know how the world is. The only thing you know is what? Your perceptions of the world. So when you say you know Earl, you don't. You absolutely don't. All you know is your perceptions of Earl. That's all anybody in this room knows about me. And that's all I know about anybody in this room. I just know my perception. I have a perception of Susan, and that's what I relate to. You have a perception of me, and that's who you relate to. And he says that's true about everything. But what the Holy Spirit, what the Comforter does, what the higher power does, is the higher power heals those perceptions, which is the same as saying the higher power helps you let go of any fear in your perceptions. So to be healed means to have perceptions of fear erased and released. It's not the physical body healing, it's your perception of the physical body that needs to be healed. It's always the perception of whatever you're going through that needs to be healed. The Course in Miracles teaches you don't ask for the healing of the body or the healing of the financial situation or fill in the blank. It says you ask for the correct perception of it.
Yeah.
So if I was in the hospital and I was getting ready to have an operation, I would ask Spirit for the correct perception of me having an operation on my body. If I was in a relationship and I'm unhappy, I would be asking for the correct perception of my relationship. Start asking for the correct perception of things instead of the healing of the thing. If you have money problems, ask for the correct perception of money, because if you had the correct perception of money, you wouldn't have any lack of peace about money. Would you give me your car tonight if you knew you were going to receive another car instantly that was better? No, you'd be begging me to take your car. So once you begin to know that abundance is your natural state, you naturally become generous because you always know you will have what you need in abundance. It's only a person who knows that they have that can give. So giving is proof that you have something. If you can give it away, it's yours. And anything you keep to yourself is really something you don't want anybody else to have.
Right? Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it goes on to say, now for the Comforter or the higher power to heal your perceptions, you have to have a little willingness to let your perceptions be changed. And the Course teaches that a perception is an interpretation. So you could just substitute the word interpretation for perceptions and it'll give you a more powerful meaning. Let me show you. You have only known your perceptions of Earl. You could go, you have only known your interpretations of Earl. Doesn't that give it another slant? You're looking at your interpretation of me. You're reacting to your interpretation to me. You're not seeing me. I don't know you. I don't know any of you. And you don't know me. You only know your interpretation of who you think I am based on your past experiences. That's all you know about anything. Suppose that interpretation is wrong. How many times have you thought you knew the truth about something and you had seen it correctly and found out later you were so far off base it was ridiculous?
Yep.
Have you even thought about how many times you did that and never knew it? See, we think we kind of like found out every time we were seeing it incorrectly. We don't even realize you have incorrect perceptions about stuff that you believe even till today that's not true. And you're convinced. How can you tell which perceptions you're totally incorrect about? They're the ones that upset you. If you're upset about everything, you have the wrong perception of everything. So do you want to be right about that? If you want to be right about a perception that makes you miserable, you have an imprisoned mind. And you're not allowing all things. See the simplicity of the truth. It's very difficult for twisted minds. Okay, now. It's got a little, the course of
Simplicity is very difficult for twisted minds. So the more twisted your mind is, the more distorted your perception is, the more you're going, huh?
Okay. Come on, baby, let's do the twist. Come on, baby, let's do the. So we got twisted mind. All right.
Yes.
And I'm going slow. You know why? Because that's the instruction. Slow gets us. Fast, we can kind of like, no, just but slow. I love it. Aries always say to me, I want it now or sooner. Because they want everything now. Okay? So I know you Aries out there about to go crazy. Okay. As your perceptions are changed, the world magically becomes a different place as your perceptions are changed. So let's do it the new way. As your interpretations are changed, the world magically becomes a different place. As your interpretations change, does it sound easier to change an interpretation than it does to change a perception? Think about it.
Yeah.
Does it sound easier to change an interpretation? Because you realize, oh, that's just an interpretation. You can give me another way of looking at it. So when you do that, your world will seem to magically become a different place. And that means what? That means your world becomes transparent. And when your world becomes transparent, it becomes harmless. When you can see through things, then you see that it's harmless. You will see that in 99% of the cases, all of the harm that you see is in your own mind, and it never happens. Think about how many things you've been afraid would happen to you that never happened. And you would tell yourself, "Boy, I wish I had to save that worry." Right? I was worried about this and worried about this, and it never friggin' happened because it was only my interpretation that was frightening me. The facts were nothing was happening and that I'm totally safe right now. The facts are you all are safe right now. The facts are you are totally safe right now. And anything else you're feeling is your interpretation, but it's not a fact. So if you're not feeling good right now, it's because you're interpreting this moment. And you're interpreting in this moment in a way that you're not embracing it. And you're interpreting this moment in a way that you think you wish it was different, or something was happening different, or you were experiencing something different. That's the only reason why you wouldn't be happy in this moment right now. But the facts are there are no bombs, no missiles, no attacks, nothing. We're just sitting here. And some of us are just sitting here unhappy. In total safety.
Yeah.
Which lets you know your problem isn't as big as you think it is.
Yeah.
If you were dodging bullets, you wouldn't have time to analyze what I'm saying. If you were really in danger, you couldn't sit back and complain about how you feel. You wouldn't have time. It's sickening when I hear what I'm doing to myself sometimes. I'm suffering most of the time for absolutely no.
Yeah.
Go through a whole day,
Yeah.
pretty much end up in bed, totally chilled out, and was worried about something all day. Needlessly, because nothing happened. Now, that means that it becomes virtually valueless except for the value that the Creator would give it while it lasts. So there's nothing in this world that has value other than the value that loving it gives it.
Wow.
There's nothing in this world that has any value other than what the Comforter, which is love, gives it. So nothing in your life has any more value than you love it. You don't have any more value to me than I love you. If I don't love you, you're valueless to me. If you don't love me, I have no value to you. For real. Any question about those two paragraphs? Any comments about those two paragraphs? Any sharing? Yes.
I have a question. So what if we were in physical danger? What I was hearing was the heartbeat of us always, even if maybe there are bombs or there is a threat, would be you're always safe.
who you truly are is always safe.
Yeah, right. Regardless of
your
any
true identity, not the one we've been taught we are, not the one that believes it's a body, not the one that thinks it's something that's destructible. None of this will make sense as long as you only entertain the idea that you are just a human body. You just will forget all metaphysical New Thought teachings if you're not willing to expand your perception of who you are. If you're trying to just hang on to the perception of yourself as being a separate human being that's flesh and blood that dies one day, none of this stuff would make any sense whatsoever. Without a spiritual perspective, then spiritual teachings don't make any sense. But people come with a materialistic, physical perspective to classes on spirituality and then wonder why it seems crazy to them. You got to be willing to what? Embrace what you think you are to transcend it. So I'm not knocking my humanness, but just like I would knock my foot, but my foot isn't my whole body. I can embrace my feet, but if I think I am a foot, then I'm in trouble. Okay, so you can embrace being human, but if you think that's all you are, the world will never make any sense to you. None of this will. So you have to begin to entertain the thought that you may be more than you think you are. The truth teaches that that's the highest level of consciousness that your ego mind can possibly get to, is when it says when the ego gets to the point that it starts to believe it may not be all you are. Like, if you're beginning to think you may be more than you think you are, and if you're beginning to think you may be more than you were taught you are, you're on the highest level of consciousness that a separated mind can be on. That's as high as a person who thinks they're separate can be. The highest level you can be on is to think that maybe I'm not what I think I am. So if you feel that intrinsically, like somebody sold you a bill of goods because there's a part of you that knows that you're more than what you've been taught, you're on the highest level of consciousness that the human mind can be on, which has nothing to do with book knowledge.
So then what's the next step?
Yeah, so what's after that?
Well, let's do this much first.
But there's gotta be something after, right?
Oh yeah, eternal life, eternal joy,
Yeah.
eternal
Say
abundance,
so now.
oneness, peace, safety, excitement, expansion, adventure, creativity, and on and on and on and on and on. That's what's on the other side of me thinking I'm just a limited perception. See, seeing you as a body is a severely limited perception of who I think you are. That's just a small part of you. And notice I didn't say it was bad. I didn't say anything was wrong with it. I just said, like if I saw you as your sandals, then that's a severely limited perception of you. Right? It wouldn't bring me a lot of joy to just think you was your foot unless I had a foot fetish. Then I'd be in ecstasy. What a tug. Okay, but I'd still be missing the rest of it. And that's all these books are trying to tell us. Just because the part of you that you're focused on is all that you think you are, doesn't mean that's all that you are. But since you only see what you believe when it comes to perception and consciousness, then if you don't have a more unlimited perception of yourself, there will be nothing in your physical experience that will witness to anything other than you or what you think you are. So you'll think you're right about it. Does that make sense? You know, if your perception is a reflection of belief and you believe that you are limited, then you're going to see limitations. And when someone tries to argue with you that you're not limited, it won't make any sense to you because you live in your limitations. So they seem real to you. That's why I don't ever debate or argue at all. If anybody's been coming to my class for years, they know I don't do it. I don't do it. I don't engage people in debates because it doesn't matter. If it's the truth, it's going to be true whether either one of us believe it or not. And whatever the truth is, we're going to find out sooner or later. So I got other things I want to do with my time. It's not really important that you agree with me.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any difference to my life if you agree with me. You know. Yes, brother.
Okay, so I have perceptions and I have beliefs, and often these whatever's going on inside of me, I know that it's keeping me down. It's keeping me in prison. But I'm so angry, I'm so frustrated, I'm so fearful. And at that point, I just don't know what to do with it.
Everything we've been talking about since the beginning of the class. Have a willingness to let your perceptions be changed. Know that you have a higher power that can help you heal those perceptions. Remember that you don't know what this situation really is that you're upset about. You only know the way that you're looking at it. There's another way for you to look at it. If you're feeling angry and upset, it's coming from your interpretation of how you're looking at it. So you need another way of looking at it. And above all things, you got to be willing to let it be what it is. And to remember that your anger is just a result of your having a script that thing, a person, or circumstance is not acting out. That's why you're mad. You are trying to control everything around you, and your anger is just your temper tantrum that's coming from inside yourself, you saying, I want it my way. That's all anger is. I've decided how this should be. I've decided how you should be for my peace and joy, and you're not doing it. Son of a. That's what anger is. It's a script that you made out that's not being. Teenagers shouldn't get on the bus with big boom boxes back in the day, you know. And I'm mad. It's not the kid you're mad at. He's not acting out your control freak tendencies. Because you decided he shouldn't play loud music. Don't you see what I'm saying? Our anger is always coming from we made up a script about how something should be, and it's not happening the way we've decided it should be. And that even includes the anger we have of ourselves. If you're a person walking around disappointed in yourself all day, mad at yourself, then you made a script for what should be happening in your life, and you haven't been successful at acting that script out, so you're beating yourself up the way you're going to beat other people up when they don't act out what you want them to do. We beat ourselves up the more. Because we come up with more ideas about how we should be. The Course in Miracles says in one of the books, you know, if your body doesn't get you what you want, then you use your mind to attack your body for not getting you what you want. Especially if you think your body needs to look a certain way and it's not. So you attack it. What do you mean attack it? With your anger and your guilt because it's betraying you and not giving you what you want. It's a trip if you've been using your looks as a way of making it through life and getting what you want, and you start to reach an age that your looks start to change. That is hard time. So those in our society, at our request, teaches us that that's all it takes. That's why some people are working out because they really care about the health of their bodies. But there's a lot of people working out because they think a pretty body is going to get them what they want, because they see that a lot of people want them just because of the way they look. That's why people work on their appearance, a lot of people, not everybody, but that's why some people really work on their appearance so much, is because they feel like that's what it's going to take to get the attention and the specialist that they want. And if you're in an unconscious world where most people are unconscious, it looks like that's true. Because I've been with female friends that I've seen get like turned on and want a guy just because he walked in the way he looked. And I know you've seen it with men. You know, they say, oh, I want somebody with a mind. I want a guy that got a good mind. Damn, he fine. And I go, I got a good mind. Evidently, that ain't what you really I got a fine mind. My mind is 36, 23, 36. Don't be talking that mind stuff to me. It ain't got nothing to do with mine. You gotta respect me for my. Oh, I want him. You know, you all know I'm telling the truth. You've all seen it. You've all seen it. The Course in Miracles says that we believe that if something looks good, it is good. If you look good, you are good. You know. Woo. Wow. You wouldn't get in the car with a serial killer that looked like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. But if he looked like, you know, Brad Pitt, you'd probably be right. Let me get in here with this serial killer. But you don't know it, but he looks like he's a cool guy. So, man, you know, he's honest. He got a suit on. Y'all know, you know, Apostle must do that kind of stuff, right? Right?
How often does that work?
Yeah, I was a nice guy, but when I came to visit my girlfriend in high school with an afro this big, and because I was in a band and I had a shaggy vest and red, white, and blue striped bell-bottom pants back in the '70s with platform heels that looked like a fishbowl with fish swimming around in it. You know, back in them days, the heels was that big. I don't know why her pastor father got weird. I thought I was her dream son and potential son-in-law. Okay, so what? I was a nice guy, but I frightened him. Why?
Yeah.
Because of my appearance. So appearances is the worst way in the world to judge the truth of something, even though that's what we use. Okay, anybody? I always like the discussion periods. I always discuss stuff during the discussion period. I don't know nobody else. I always take advantage of my discussion periods. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else want to take advantage of the discussion period? Okay. All right.
So we're like said, Mark Twain once said, "If your only tool is a hammer, then all problems look like nails." Just following up with what you're saying.
And so we right back to perception thing again. Okay. Now, do you want your world to magically become a different place? It will become magically a different place as your perceptions are changed. It becomes transparent and harmless. So allowance, my beloved friends, is a process of letting go and trusting, letting go and trusting, letting go, let go and trust. The most terrifying phrase we could possibly hear if we're afraid. Let go and trust. Do you know if you say, I want you to test yourself to see how many people in your life you love completely. Okay, you ready for the test? Will you be honest with yourself? Yes. Will you be honest now? Don't do that new age pretending you higher than you are. Okay, all right, we're going to tell the truth. If completely loving someone means to completely 100% on all levels trust someone, how many people do you love? Name how many people you have 100% complete trust in on every level. And you may have someone, but how many? So people say, I love you, I love you, I love you. If they realize they were saying, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you, you have a much bigger reality check.
Wow.
So instead of telling somebody you love them, when you say you trust them, that's what you're saying when you say you love me. You're saying you trust me, which means that you're saying that you are letting go. That's funny to think that if I trust you, I let you go. If I trust you, I don't try to control you. If I trust you, I free you. I don't have to watch a person that I trust. So remember that the next time you hide behind some bushes watching your ex. Okay, now. How'd you see him? You know, that's a big word, trust. That's a big word. I trust everybody in this room completely is what I'm saying if I say I love you completely. I'm totally vulnerable, totally open, totally undefended to every one of you if I love you completely. I hope to love you all one day. That's why I'm teaching this class. So I can trust you all one day. So either you love, like me and my a former partner that's still really always a partner to me. We used to get up and we would say in the morning, you know I don't love you, don't you? I said, yeah, I know I don't love you either. But we working on it. We moving toward it.
Yeah.
So we stayed together and still cool 30-something years later. Because we didn't lie to each other. We said, I would say, I love you. I said, I love you and I want to love you. That was our standard way of relating to each other. I love you and I want to love you. Those are the only two feelings I have for you. I'm either loving you or I want to. And when I'm upset, that's my wanting to phase. If I'm suspicious of you, that's my wanting to love you part of the I love you. I want to. Right? Okay. So it is a process of saying, I wonder what it would be like to just let things be as they are. I wonder what it would be like to just notice things and let them pass by. So a conscious being, in order to let something be as it is, it notices it and it lets it pass. I'm noticing this thought, I'm letting it pass. I notice my jealousy thought, I'm going to let it pass. I notice my lack thought, I'm going to let it pass. I notice my abundance thought, I'm going to let it pass. I notice my happy thought, I'm going to let it pass. Notice I'm including the happy thoughts as well as the sad ones. You can't play a song with only one note. And you can't play all the notes of a song unless you let go of one note to let the next note come. Some of us have a one-note existence. And we wonder why we bored out of our minds. We cling, we're so afraid to let go that we won't let the next note come. That next lover, partner, friend is the next note. So you might have to let this note, partner, friend, person move on to let your symphony play.
Well said.
You know what I'm saying? I want a symphony. That's what I like to have.
Barry White up in
I want a little Barry White off in there.
Very
Well, you know what you just said was the answer to the question.
Is it good?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you see, I asked, you know, I get so frustrated and I want to let it go. And what about if I just got curious about just wondering what it would be like to just let that pass? Just notice it.
Well, immediately you let go of the anger, right?
Well, not even
Right.
let go of the anger, because it's more like, okay, I feel the anger. Okay, that's cool. I feel it. Then I let it pass.
That's what I said. You let go of the anger.
If you can, sometimes I can't, right?
Well, that's because you want to keep it.
Yeah.
Right.
You see, in other words, there's a payoff
Yeah.
at some level, according to this. You know, there's a payoff you're getting in keeping the anger, according to this. And then at some point, your peace becomes more important than the anger. And then when your peace becomes more important than the anger, you notice it and you let it go.
Yeah.
Right? You know, okay? So allowance then is the doorway through which Christ, the C word,
No.
in which the Christ is the one self we all share, our true self. Love. That's what we are. So allowance then is the doorway through which love passes into the complete remembrance of love. So allowance depends on a deepening sense of freedom. The more free I feel, the more I let everybody else be. And what is true freedom? True freedom is freedom from all circumstance. And it is your circumstances that you have believed have the power to imprison you. It's your circumstances that you think are imprisoning you right now. You think it's the job or the situation or the relationship that's imprisoning you if you feel imprisoned in any way right now. So as you choose to relinquish your perception of the world, as you choose to relinquish your interpretation of the world or any circumstance, when you let go of the way you're looking at it, you'll see you're already free. I used to think if I was in a relationship that I needed to convince the other person to free me. And it was amazing how much I used to work on, I'm going to get this person to free me. I'm in this relationship and I want them to free me. And the truth is, I'm already free. It was just my perception of imprisonment by them that was imprisoning me. Because nobody can stop me from doing what I want to do if I'm willing to take responsibility for it. I could go rob a bank right now, but I have to be willing to take responsibilities for the consequence of that. You see what I mean? You all could do whatever you basically wanted to do if you were willing to accept responsibility for the consequences of it. You're right? So it's not the circumstance that's imprisoning us at all. Like he says, it is my believing that it has the power to imprison me that's imprisoning me. But none of your mates or friends have the power to limit you. If you come home at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, it's not because they made you come home at that time, that they were in control of your freedom. Whatever you do, that's you determining what you do. You're already free. It's always you determining what you do and then saying somebody else is making you do it. That's why people who are afraid of their freedom form relationships with people who appear to limit their freedom. It's because they're afraid to be free, so they need an artificial jailer to keep them under control, which they'll say, I would like to go to that party, man, but my wife would just trip out. Your wife's not keeping you from going to that party. You scared to go to that party. And you need your wife to keep you from doing something you're going to be guilty about later on. Let's get real. You know, nobody's stopping you from doing something, let alone your mate or your friends. They don't have that kind of power over you. You're giving it to them because you don't want to do it. But this stuff kind of get to you. Yeah, that's forget most of this when we leave. Yeah, that's how we're going to deal with this. We'll just forget most of this. Okay, we got the plan, right? How good are y'all at doing that? Anybody want to admit most of the stuff you hear? Okay, group amnesia. Okay, good. So that's why you don't want a partner or a friend who's a consciously evolving being, because then you can't blame anybody for anything because they're always reminding you that you're the creator of your experience. So you got to get rid of your conscious friends. You got to hang out with your unconscious friends. Because they're going to join with you when you say it's somebody else's fault. It is. You saw what he did. What you talking about? Or you feel guilty about something, you feeling really bad, and you say what it is, and they say, and you remember what you did last Christmas too? Don't forget that now. You're free. Yeah, I know I'm telling the truth. We all have had the same experience in different ways. We all have. So you are already free. You're already free, and the power, and that is what freedom is power. Freedom is another word for power. When you say I am free, you're saying I am powerful. And what is that power? You are free with the power to create differently. Yes. Freedom is the power to create differently. I thought freedom meant freedom of the body. I can do anything I want to do with my body. No. Freedom is you recognizing that you have the power to create differently. And to create is the effect of what you choose to see. So when you say you want to create something and you create it, it's just the effect of you choosing to see something differently. Like you'll say you created more abundance or money, for instance, for yourself, as soon as you're really willing to see it differently, you're going to create it in your perception. That's the power we have. We have the freedom to choose to see things differently. We have the freedom to choose to interpret things differently. And when we do that, magically, it'll look like the world has changed, but it hasn't changed at all. Nothing about it's changed. It's the way it's always been, but you'll be tuning into the parts of it that's love. That's always been there, but you didn't see it. You've all had the experience of talking to somebody and they was telling you about the kind of person that they wanted, and you were sitting there already that person, and they don't see it. But they're telling you constantly about the person that they want to be with that's not that. And so I always think about in my life, how many times have everything I wanted been right in front of my face, and I was so busy looking at my grievances from the past and what I think was done to me that I didn't even see it or them, and they were right there. A conscious being is not going to do anything about that, because they know if you can't see them, then they don't need to deal with you because you can't appreciate them. But they'll support you having what you want. Somebody that loves you always want to support you having what you really want. That's loving, even if it's not them. Have you ever loved somebody so much that you wanted them to be with you? They didn't want to be with you for whatever reason. Their perception was telling them not to, but you cared so much about them that you wanted them to be happy, even if it was with someone else. That's love. That's love. Running them down with your car, then you got some stuff to work on. It's a few little things you need to work out. This reincarnation, you'll be back. That's why some people don't know nothing about that kind of stuff. They use it not to their advantage, you know. Oh, there is no death? Pow! I don't even want to deal with your mom. I'll see you next time. I'll see you in 2020. You come back as a little baby, I can smack your butt then. Okay, anyway. I don't know where that came from. I was channeling. That's what it was. I was channeling. That's exactly right. I was channeling. So to create is the effect of what you will choose to see. Any questions, any comments, any sharing?
Repeat, please.
To create is the effect of what you will choose to see. What you call creation is just the result of you choosing to see things in another way. When you see money, I like to use examples of where we think we are, even though it's not the ultimate reality. Because we think we're in a place where we need money, and we think we need a car. So that's why I use the quote unquote. That's why even in the Course of Miracles, Jesus uses ice cream a lot. By examples. I think he had a thing about ice cream. He mentions ice cream about 4 or 5 times in this thing. If you eat some ice cream, you know, so get these some ice cream. Okay. Because that's what the book claims to be channeled by. That actually is the voice of Jesus correcting the perception of things that he taught and giving us new ways of looking at it. Which is hard which doesn't matter whether we believe it or not. That's what's so cool. But if you believe that you could get additional help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had an experience sort of a very long time ago. I had a girlfriend, she left, and it was around Christmas, and I was walking down the street, and all of a sudden I thought, well, you know what? She's with somebody, she's really happy, what more could I ask for? You know, and it was really a great feeling, and it really awes me how quickly I retreated from that. And that really, it's sort of like, it was really a beautiful feeling.
That's right.
You know, I was just walking down the street, looking at all these people celebrating Christmas, and thinking, wow, you know, well, Jeannie's in Chicago now with somebody that she really loves, so what could be better for her? But then, you know, I woke up the next morning retreating, you know, and it's the retreating that kind of gets under my skin.
But as you continue your path of awakening, those periods of lucid love will continue in length. So that's why you need to be grateful if you can pull off 2 minutes of forgiveness when you couldn't pull it off at all. It'll keep on. You know why? Because more and more you'll start to value your own peace.
Yeah.
And the more you value your own peace, the more you don't want anything to interfere with it at all, including keeping thoughts about people that make you feel bad. You'll start to want to be loving with everybody because of the way you feel. Because if I love you, the good feeling I was getting anyway wasn't really coming from you, it was coming from me. Because of the way I feel about you. I'm giving you love. I feel that love. It feels good to me. Now, even if you don't love me anymore, in your perception, it still doesn't have to affect the good feeling I have about loving you. Because that's all I was ever feeling, even when you liked me. I was only ever feeling the love I was giving. That's all I ever feel.
Right.
In any moment is the joy that I'm giving to me. And I could do that even if you decided you didn't want to be with me anymore. I could still appreciate you and feel good when I think about you if I want to. So you can't stop me from loving you. All of y'all, you can't stop me from feeling good about you, no matter what. You have no power over my feelings of appreciation for you. Anybody else? Any thoughts, any feelings, anything they want to say?
I had a realization when he was talking, a visual when you were talking about anger or being in, you know, seeing your thoughts and your emotions, things go by. If you imagine that what is going by is like a raging river,
Yes.
you'll be much more careful about what you go after.
Yes.
Because then you're sucked into it. So it's like sit on the side of the bank and then watch things go by instead and think of it as, you know, if I go after that or if I immerse myself or if I accept that, then I'm basically releasing my power and it takes that much longer to get back out because it's like getting into a raging river. You know, you get into it, you're fully immersed into it, it takes you.
There's a difference between watching the parade and then grabbing the majorette.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, yeah. And that's the way you're supposed to do your thoughts. You're supposed to go, oh, that's a thought of hate, that's a thought of joy, that's a thought of sadness, that's a thought of anger, that's a thought of abundance, oh, that's a thought of I'm not enough. I'm watching the parade go by of my thoughts, and if I don't grab them, if I allow them, then whatever thought's making me unhappy will move along, and the true thought, a loving thought, will surely be behind it. I don't do that all the time. Carolyn, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to share an experience I had today because my ego is really sneaky about how it gets to me. And I was on this really peaceful dog walk. It was really beautiful today, and we were having a great dog walk. And there's a new owners of a house in our park, and so I'm passing their house, and there's 3 dogs in a cage, in like a kennel, and they're barking at my dogs through the fence. And my ego was like, gosh, I wish I could help all these dogs who get trapped in there. I walk my dog every day, so I would really like these dogs to be walked every day. And then I start thinking about all the animals that I can't help, and all the animals that are getting mistreated. And that's really like, really like, woo, I was having a really peaceful walk, and then all of a sudden, it like just took it away from me.
Right.
And I was like, okay, the only thing that I could come up with was, I must be seeing those 3 dogs incorrectly. Like, there's something I'm seeing incorrectly, and I literally kept walking, and I'm realizing now I diffused it. But I didn't really get an answer. I just trusted that I repeated what I said, or I repeated what I was told to say. Like, I must be seeing this incorrectly. If I think these dogs also need walks, you know, like, I don't need to take that on.
It's a part of the way of Master where he talks about one of the biggest errors that we make is we think we know what's best for other people. Or that we think we know what's best for other things. You know, it's just like somebody in a car wreck, and you think you're helping them when you drag them out of the car and it severs their spinal cord. Where if you had left them alone, they wouldn't have been paralyzed. So sometimes you can think you know what's best, and you really don't know what was best for those dogs, but you know what you would choose to do in that situation, which would be being kind and walking the dog. You see what I'm saying? So you would still do what you felt was best for you from within yourself, but you would also keep in mind that you really don't know.
Well, and I could have finished out the walk obsessing about all
That's
the
right.
things I can't control.
Right.
And how I'm like, wow, it's just right in front of my face and I can't control it.
And the one thing you could control was
How I saw it.
right.
Yeah.
That's the one thing you can always control in
It
any
was really
situation.
simple. It was really simple.
Mhm.
It didn't come easy. That's like 3 years of practicing.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Frankly, I think you bragging.
Oh, your perception.
It only took 3 years.
I know I've been doing it for years.
So what's wrong with me? I've been doing this 35. I'm a spiritual student with the little red bus come to get every day. A little yellow bus or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so that's what my family thinks. You still reading the same book you've been reading for 30 years? You still reading that Course in Miracles stuff book? What? You've been reading that book for 30 years. What's up with you? What's wrong with you? You're a slow learner, buddy. But anybody that's studying it knows the more you study it, the more peaceful your perception comes, and the more love comes into your life, and the more things are come at you in a way you love and appreciate. That's why you keep doing it. Allowance can be thought of as a resistance being melted from the nervous system. Allowance is resistance being melted from your nervous system. Allowance is resistance being melted, which is just an aspect of the mind anyway. The nervous system is just an aspect of the mind anyway. Allowance is like the opening of palms of the hands. So allowing is like opening your hands. Instead of holding on so tightly, you just let go. What do you let go of? This is what you let go of. You want to know what you let go of?
Tell me.
You let go of the need to be right, and you let go of the habit of you having a need to perceive the world as something to be afraid in. You have to let go of your need to see the world as something to be afraid of. I have a need to see you all as something to be afraid of, because then that justifies me not trusting you, Because the truth is, I'm afraid to trust you. So since I'm afraid to trust you, I need to think there's something about you that's frightening so I can feel okay about my fear of opening up and being vulnerable to you. Does that make sense? Yeah. If you're afraid of intimacy, then you're going to need to be around people that make you feel justified in being afraid of intimacy. So you'll say you want to be intimate with somebody, but you'll always attract people to you who seem like you can't trust them. That's really a reflection of your own fear of intimacy. But I need a justification. So I'm going to pick some people that justify me not trusting. Because I'm afraid. I'm afraid to be open to you all. I'm afraid to be undefended. So I got to come up with a reason why I shouldn't trust you, while I'm saying I really would trust you. I really want to trust you. The truth is I'm scared to death to trust any of you. So I'm going to need a reason not to do it. So my mind comes up with everything that's ever happened to me in my life to justify not trusting people. End of story. If you don't trust me, and I haven't done anything to you, the only reason why you're not trusting me is you're thinking of something somebody else did to you. I'm not them. Sorry. So you can't use the experience so like Jesus, like you crucified Jesus for what somebody else did in a way. You know, like the whole thing was, and that's what I see what we do. You had a rough relationship with somebody else, so you're not going to trust me because of what the other guy did.
That's delusional.
That's what a crazy mind does. But the world says that is being really cautious and aware. The world will pat you on the back. You're not being a sucker. I know that wasn't the person that did it, but you treat them like they are, and you are now smart. So that means you're only gonna focus on the things about that person that could remind you of the person you really don't trust. And then you magnify those things until it becomes what you think that person is, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because you want it to be.
Because you are afraid
To love. There's nothing more terrifying to us than love, according to this. The main thing we say we want, he says, is the main thing we're terrified of. Because the pain that we've gone through has come mostly from people who said they loved us. You know.
And so by practicing this, we are lessening that fear. We're breaking
Absolutely.
down that fear
Yeah.
so that we're not afraid of the love
That's
that
right.
we say that we
Right.
want.
Because you can't hurt me unless there's something I want to get from you that you might not give to me. See, nobody in this room can hurt me unless I want to get something from you. But if I don't want to get anything from you, you can't hurt me. If I gave you money because I wanted to give you money, whether you paid me back or not, if you gave me anything, that's what, like if somebody asked me for a loan, in my mind, I don't look at it as a loan. I look at it as I just gave you something. That's nice if you pay me back. But in my mind, to keep my peace, I'm going to look at it as if I just gave you a gift.
Yeah, sure.
So that I won't get a grievance about it. Plus, I know the universe is going to give it back to me in some form, even if it comes through somebody else. So I don't even necessarily have to look for it to come back through you. I don't look for love to necessarily come back to me through the people I think I gave it to. I look for love to come back. And it always does. But there's one little change in it when it comes back. It's better.
Yeah.
It's more. It's more enjoyable. I never had one relationship end that the next one wasn't better. Unless I didn't learn the lesson I should have learned in that one. In that case, it's more intense. But if I got the lesson, the next person is more understanding, more compassionate, more appreciative than the one that looked like they no longer felt that way about me. Because I don't look for them to be the source of my love. Love will come to anybody that will let it. You can't lose with what we're studying. That's the problem with it. So then the mind tries to come up with every way that this couldn't work. Do you find yourself doing that sometimes? Like as I go through this stuff, you'll find your mind, rather than siding with it, you'll be trying to find flaws in the reason and the logic. You'll be trying to use your experience to prove, oh, that doesn't work. No, you're afraid. You are afraid. You're just afraid. You're just afraid. You're just afraid. That's all. You are scared. And so when you're scared, it makes sense to be defended. That's not an insane reaction. It's a very normal reaction to fear, is to be distrustful. The habit, you got to also let go of what? The habit of perceiving that you're in lack. Let go of having the habit of thinking that you're lacking something, that there's not enough, Earl. The habit of perceiving that love must be far from you. The Christ, which is love, must be far from you. Anything that is unlike the kingdom of heaven, which is reality, is a habit well worth releasing by allowing it to be dissolved from your mind. Any questions, any comments? Yes.
I don't trust God.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust God. I notice that there are times when I feel like I can rely on God for certain things, but then there's things that, I don't know, he may not do too well in this area. You know,
Yeah.
and then the other thing is I don't trust myself. So then it's going to play out in the relationships and other stuff that shows up in my life. So I feel like if I could tell the truth about it, then at least I'm going in a better direction to ask, you know, for another perception of God to be written across my consciousness.
There you go. That's right.
Right on.
That's right.
Right on.
That's right. You don't want to be right.
I don't.
See,
Yeah.
that's the key. You don't want to be right about that perception, but you're willing to admit you have that perception, which is what's necessary in order to be healed. Is you need to bring the shadow up to light, the darkness to the light. Whatever it is I'm
That's
afraid
right.
of, I need to look at it, and that's what many people are unwilling to do.
Yeah.
They're not willing to look at the shadow. They're not willing to go, you know, the truth is, I really don't trust God. Actually, I know I don't, because I have the one effect of not trusting God happening in my life. Fear.
Yeah.
That's how I know I don't trust the universe. I'm afraid. It's just that simple. If I really knew I was in the hands of something that was infinitely powerful, that was available to me, that loved me unconditionally, and that would provide my every need because it created me. You know, the same power that created the cow created the grass that feeds it. The cow wasn't born and they said, okay, go make you some grass. Well, go to Colorado. Okay, then we forget that what made us must have also made what sustains us. So we think we got to do it. And we can't, because we didn't make ourselves. So the Course teaches that the problem we have with God is not that the Creator doesn't exist. We don't know how to communicate with it and hear its response. It's a communication problem, not a God doesn't exist problem. That's deep. Think about that. It's not that the Creator doesn't exist. You don't know how to communicate with it. Because you have fear. And that fear is blocking your ability to hear. Because the voice for God is not any louder than your willingness to listen to it. My voice isn't any louder to any of you tonight than your willingness to hear me. I'm not any louder to you than your willingness to hear me.
What?
And if you're not willing to hear me, it sounds like, and what you're really listening to is what you're thinking about after the class or what happened before the class. You're not hearing nothing I'm saying at all. Well, you're doing the same thing with the voice for God.
Yes.
You're doing the exact same thing. You're listening to what you're telling yourself and drowning out the guidance that you're asking for. That's always just like you could do with me right now. If you're not interested in what I'm saying, it's like I'm not talking because your attention is somewhere else. But it doesn't mean I'm not talking. And to the people who are being moved by what's being said, they're hanging on every word, not only hearing it, some of them are making notes about it. It's the very same class. So my voice is no louder than your willingness to hear it, and the voice of your Creator is no louder than your willingness to hear it. So are you listening to the voice of your Creator, Are you
Yes.
just listening to your own voice that you're making up to describe what's going on? Hello?
Hello.
Hello? You never tuned in the spirit and asked spirit's help that you didn't receive an answer.
Right.
Ever. Ever. And you never will. But if you're busy listening to your past and using your own experiences to determine what's really going on, your mind is preoccupied with another voice, and that other voice your mind is preoccupied with is yours. Then you make up what you want, you assign roles to the people in your life to fulfill it, and then you get mad at them if they don't. And you say, you're not supporting me. You didn't ask me if I wanted to be a part of your script. You just assumed I should be. You assigned me the role of making you happy. You didn't ask me if I wanted to. Woo! Woo! And then the people who will cooperate with me, if I don't love myself, I'll never listen to them, I'll never notice them, and I'll never appreciate them. Because they're going to prove to me I can have what I want. I don't believe I deserve to have what I want, so I can't see them. Because that'll prove me wrong. I'm saying life doesn't work for me. They're showing me that I'm loved. I can't pay attention to them. That'll make me wrong about how I feel about myself. I want to be right about things don't go right for me. I want to be right that people don't support me. I want to be right about that. Because I built a whole world around that. I know how to move around in a world where people mistreat me, in my perception. I don't know how to function in a world where I'm expected to trust you. See that? See that? Yeah, Chris.
Someone told me something yesterday that is another way of saying what you said is that and I'm gonna use you as an example. So I project on you the symbol of love. You're love to me. And so then I'm like, well, what do I need to do to get that love? And so then I'll do whatever I think in my mind I need to do, and I'll put a script on you, to be like, oh, well, if he reacts this way, then I'll have the love. And then I'm like, well, what do I need to do to get that love? And then, of course, it fails because, you're your own person, and it fails. So then I get a grievance against you because I'm like, I'm not getting that love, damn it, and I'm working hard for it. But what I need to do is look into the causes and conditions as to why I'm not getting that love. Mm-hmm. And what's in it in me, that's, what's in me, what's the causing condition in me that, is causing me to react like that.
Right.
Causing me to project.
And then he said at the very beginning of the section that what's causing the problem is you're not allowing and needing me to be another way in order for you to be happy. That's what it was saying at the very beginning. That's the problem. That you needed me to be a certain way for you to be happy. And that's what's making you unhappy, not me not being that way. It's you thinking that your happiness comes from me. And then you'll meet people who will tell you, I want to make you happy, Chris. I want to do whatever will make you happy. And you got to also not fall for that any more than not falling for the person that doesn't act out your script.
Yep.
You got to just as much not be fooled by the person that's saying they want to please you, and therefore increasing your belief that your happiness comes outside of yourself, as the person who seems like they're never acting out your script and upsetting you. Both of them are tricks.
Yeah, totally.
Both of them are total tricks. Because that person can take that meaning that they've given you away. That's the only thing that happens when a relationship breaks up. All it means is, I've taken away your meaning to me. And so I will say to you, I'm no longer in love with you, Chris. And you've been used to me doing the things that please you. You actually thought you had some power with me, didn't you? I even told you you did. You see what I mean? And so don't fool yourself. That always remember that whatever meaning, whatever person is doing for you is just a gift in a way that they can take away anytime they choose to if you don't act out what they want you to do. And that's the game we play. The Course calls it our relationships are bargains made with guilt. And it's telling us there's another love that's beyond that is so much more satisfying that's always available right now, tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight. Thank you for listening to this much Holy Spirit. We did good. We had a resurrection. We rose from the dead, didn't we? We did it. We rose from the dead, didn't we? But that's just my interpretation. It really was. Y'all were just alive, and I was alive, and we all were alive. That's right. All right, so let's do the financial expression of appreciation. Let's do that. Those of you who are not on the mailing list, the contact list is up front. I video the classes, I send them out usually once a week with links so that you can watch the classes again. Even if it takes a while to get the classes online, when you see classes you haven't seen before, they're called new classes. Even if it was done a month or two ago, it's still a new class if you've never seen it before.
And even if you have seen it before,
And even if you have, it keeps
it's
on.
still new.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, it's like, okay, what's last week's class? I bet you don't remember it.
Yeah.
But you're like, I gotta get that, okay. So thank you for sharing with me. I really appreciate it. I know you don't have to, but I hope you see what I do is valuable enough that it feels right for you to share. You do. Because I'm a full-time teacher of this in God, I am sustained by the love of God, and you are sustained by the love of God. If you're online and you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, just go to earlpurdy.com, and I'm available for one-on-one sessions, counseling sessions, clarity sessions, where we can take what we're studying and apply specifically to the situation that you're ready to see differently. And for those of you who are open-minded to other ways of receiving information from Spirit, I also use my knowledge of astrology and numerology. And if you know nothing about it, do the best you can to refrain from judging it. I know it's difficult for us to do that sometimes. But if you actually don't know anything about it, then you don't know how helpful it or how unhelpful it can be. I try to do the same thing. I realize I got a nasty habit of judging things I don't know anything about. I know you've never done that, right?
No.
Okay, well, please forgive me. I know I'm alone in this. So I'm going to end this tonight with letting us just kind of be as mellow going out as we were coming in. So just take a minute and let's be together while I do a quick review. How about that?
Yeah.
Allow all things, the rest of tonight, the rest of this week. Tell yourself, I'm willing to cultivate the ability to allow all things. I'm willing to cultivate the ability to allow all things. What does that mean? Well, if your mind is free, you can do it. If your mind is imprisoned, you can't do it. If your mind is imprisoned, do you know that that just means that you have a mind that is insisting that everything and everybody change but itself? You have a mind that's saying everything should change but you. That's a mind that's not allowing for change. If you are forgiving, if you're ready to forgive someone right now, this is what you do. Release them from your insistence that your perception of them be true. I release you from the insistence that my perceptions about you be true. I am willing to learn to release you. I am willing to learn to release you from my insistence that my perceptions about you be true. I am releasing myself from the need to hold on to these perceptions about you. I am releasing myself from the need to hold this perception about you. I am releasing myself from my need to hold this perception about you. I'm willing to allow all things. I'm willing to trust all things. I'm willing to embrace all things. I'm willing to transcend all things. I am willing to learn to trust all things. I'm willing to learn to allow all things. I'm willing to learn to embrace all things. I desire love above everything. I desire love above everything. I desire love above everything. I allow the people in my life to be as they are. I allow the people in my life to be as they are. I don't know what the world is. I only know my perceptions of the world. I don't know what the world is. I only know my perceptions of the world. Spirit, heal my perceptions. Spirit, heal my perceptions. Spirit, heal my perceptions. Spirit, heal my perceptions. I am willing to let my perceptions be changed. I am willing to let my perceptions be changed. I am willing to let my perceptions be changed. Now, as your perceptions are changed, do you know that the world magically becomes a different place? I allow my world magically to become a different place. I am willing that my world be harmless. 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 Let go and trust. What does that mean? Let go and trust. It's a process. Letting go and trusting is a process. Letting go and trusting is a process of saying, I wonder what it would be like to just let things be as they are. I wonder what it would be like to just let things be as they are. To notice them and let them pass. I notice it and I let it 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 pass. I notice them and I let them pass. I notice them and I let them pass. That's the process of letting go and trusting. I let go and trust. I let go and trust by saying to myself, I wonder what it would be like to just let things be as they are. I wonder what it would be like to just let things be as they are. I wonder what it would be like to just let things be as they are. I wonder what it would be like to just let things be as they are, to notice them and let them pass by, to notice it and let it pass by. I notice it and I let it pass by. I notice it and I let it pass by. 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 You juicy, luscious, sensational, spectacular, innocent beings of God. You juicy little pookie, pookie, tookie, pookie. Let the chorus be with you. I love you, sort of. I'm working on it. Do you love me and want to love me? I love you and I want to love you. Is that about honest as we can get right now? Hugs are available, Course in Miracles, 1 o'clock on Sunday. I love you so much.
Good